The aid organisation Doctors of the World has been working in Pakistan for nearly 15 years, based on the outskirts of the worst affected area. Earlier, I caught up with its director, Susan Wright.
After the flooding, there's the initial unfortunate but expected deaths that come from the flooding itself. Then there's, if you will, a kind of second wave of problems, and those have to do with people fleeing the area very quickly. Often they're people who are not in the best health and haven't eaten, haven't had water in quite some time, so there's injuries often sustained while they're traveling. Then, as we've heard quite a bit about the fear of outbreaks, in this case cholera is quite common in that kind of situation, so you have to do whatever we can to work with the water purification systems we have, and that's the great irony of flooding, that it causes us kinds of problems, and yet there's very difficult access to clean water, so it's a sort of ripe for an epidemic. The fortunate thing is that our teams had been there and had pre-positioned cholera kits, so they were already there, so we didn't have to get them in.
And presumably that's one of the main aid priorities at the moment, with contaminated water from human and animal corpses. Then it's disease, would you say, is the main priority at the moment?
Yeah, there's both a problem with the clean water, and then, as you can imagine, also some kind of covering, because of course many houses were destroyed, and any kind of temporary shelter is a big help. As you know, part of what has complicated things is that there continue to be rains that fall, and what you have is literally millions of people who are displaced from their homes, which means that many of them have no shelter whatsoever from the elements, which of course makes them more vulnerable.
I mean, the international community has pledged tens of millions of pounds in support. How soon can that have an impact? Is it already having an impact?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's painful for any of us to hear reports, and they have to be told about the difficulty in getting access, especially to the most affected areas, which are really suffering because they were always hard to travel to, and now, of course, it's much more difficult.
Susan Wright from the aid organisation Doctors of the World.